Welcome to Toulon, France. After a high-speed train ride on the TGV from Paris, I've just stepped off into this sun-soaked port city. I'm about to embark on the next stage of my journey. This is episode 2, where I will be taking a mini-cruise to boldly go where Steve Marsh has so far not been, Corsica. Now let's see how this compares to Brittany Ferries. I head through the station building, and inside here is even a Paul bakery to remind me of back home. Outside you can see the beautiful station building, opened just a few weeks ago in 1859. The 10 minutes or so walk to La Porte, which you would never believe it, is French for port, is well signposted right across the town. This is where the route begins, and sadly this clip to show you which street to go down when you leave the station was supposed to be a video. I pressed the wrong button. Good evening from Toulon, France. I'm about to head on the second stage of my big overland journey across Europe, on a ferry to an exotic island. Well, if you stay with me for the whole episode, you'll find out where I get to, and how the journey ends up, and if it goes to plan or not. Well, we shall see. So, please stick with me, and let's make off now and see where we go. Following the signs across town, I make it to the centre of Toulon, at the Place de la Liberté, a beautiful town square surrounded by hotels, where you could stay for the night to explore more in depth. Now being January, over here looks as to what may be the remains of a Christmas market. Over here is the stunning Toulon Opera House, just catching the last rays of evening sun. I continue to follow signs to La Porte, or E-Port in this case, passing by many of these nice little boutique stores along the way. And some more decorations here left over from Christmas. They don't seem to be very efficient in France at taking them down. Here in this shop window I thought was an excellent clue for our adventure today. And no, I don't mean the aircraft carrier or pyramid. And with that, welcome to Carl's Travel Channel, where every journey costs less than £200. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. And always remember, the nearest exit may be behind you. I make it to the stunning Toulon Marina, and from here, besides the long-distance ferries, there are some other boats to some more local destinations, such as Ponton Tamaris, which is a 20 minutes ride across the harbour. Besides the vast marina of yachts, to the left here is a great selection of bars and restaurants. I wish I could stay here and soak up the atmosphere, but sadly, my ferry is sailing at 7 PM, so I best get on my way to the port, which is only around a 3 minutes walk to the ferry terminal. But wow, the Mediterranean sunset is truly stunning. I embark on the short, signposted walk to the terminal of Corsica Sardinia Ferries. And here is where you must enter through the complicated set of bill gates. This was my first experience of boarding a ferry Mediterranean style. It's very different to those in Northern Europe. Foot passengers use the same roads and ramps as vehicles, which is certainly not as safe, but they do tend to be accessibility friendly, at least with lots of flat surfaces. It is time to enter the smallish ferry terminal and go through security. I will see you on the other side. I am through the quick and short security line, and boarding begins, with not too long a wait really. There wasn't really anything to remark about inside the terminal. A standard ferry terminal process. Boarding begins well over an hour before departure, which is excellent. Just make sure you go the right way here, either to Ajaccio or Bastia. There was one final ticket check to go through at the gate, and here she is, my first full view of my home for tonight, the Corsica Sardinia Ferries Pascal Lota, with the various moorings attached, keeping her berthed securely. The port certainly looks a bit rustic and under construction in a few places. But wow, what could be better than this? Walking along the ramp to a ferry with a beautiful sunset behind. It really has that beckoning, south coast of France, Mediterranean adventure feeling. I am also now feeling the excitement more as I see the stern of the ship. It's getting closer and closer, and wow, the nautical, adventurous side of it is making me feel very overwhelmed. The friendly crew are just inside to welcome you on board. Sorry, only joking. Then came my first experience of boarding a ferry via an escalator, something you do not see in Northern Europe. And it's great for those with mobility issues without having any stairs to climb. It certainly also helps if you have large suitcases. Whilst we rise up into the ship and look at the schedule for today's sailing. Departing Toulon, we're scheduled to leave at 1900 hours, arriving at Bastia, Corsica at 6:45 AM tomorrow morning. The escalator, it goes all the way up from deck 3 to deck 6. with a few cool side portholes to see your progress. And you should know by now the first thing I do when I get on board a ferry is go up on the top decks and get a nice view over the harbour and port that we are about to depart from in all its glory. However, for those eagle-eyed, you may be wondering why it suddenly got dark. Well, I went to the cabin on boarding with the plan to quickly drop my bag there, but laid on the very comfortable bed and fell asleep for a whole hour. We'll head down to the cabin shortly to do a proper tour. I think, however, this was the first time I've boarded a ferry 2.5 hours prior to departure. The majesty and rumbling sounds of her funnel approach. As you can see below, boarding has not quite yet finished, and the classic view of her lifebelt as the cars below queue to come on. A beautiful moon over Toulon in the distance. Welcome aboard the MS Pascal Lota, initially named the Superstar. She is a fast ferry constructed by Fincantieri in Ancona, Italy, and delivered to the Estonian company Tallink in April 2008. Designed similarly to Moby Lines' Moby Aki, the vessel measures 177 metres and 28 metres in width, accommodating up to 2,300 passengers and approximately 700 cars. In November 2015, Corsica Ferries acquired the vessel for €91.5 million, renaming it the Pascal Lota in honour of the company's founder, who had passed away in January 2016. Following renovations to align with Corsica Ferries standards, the Pascal Lota entered service in June 2017 and now operates the routes between France, Italy, Corsica and Sardinia. Up these stairs, toward her funnel, is an outdoor workout or activity area, which does not really serve much purpose in nighttime sailings such as this, which are the bulk of the ship's duties today. To the right is the sad and empty swimming pool. There's definitely some remnants around here of her former life as the Superstar when she operated on Tallink's Tallinn to Helsinki route. Here is the outside Lido Beach Bar, which I am not sure still gets used or not. I must admit there are some aspects of walking around up here that make me feel a little sad, seeing these disused areas, which are probably a leftover from her previous life. Back inside in the warm, it's now time to head back down to deck 7, to my cabin. Remember, there are also lifts provided, accessing all floors for those who cannot climb stairs. I do like the atrium stairwell here, and in the middle, just down below, you can see the concierge desk, where the purser will be hanging out. Unplanned, I need to go to speak to them this evening, for the first ever time on a ferry. You will find out why later on. Now down through the usual maze of corridors, where the ship's cabins reside. Oh yes, and just here to the right is my cabin for the evening. And the number one issue on a ferry, will the key card work? And no. What a surprise. I'm in, and I clearly sounded in a huff there. Well, at least I can sling my hook up there and hang my coat as I enter. Now let's work our way around the room to check out the facilities. First of all, we have the wardrobe. Some decent space inside here, and even 2 coat hangers are provided for your evening cruise ball gown, plus the ladders for the top bunks. And on the sticker, just up on the wall here, is a QR code to scan to activate your Wi-Fi, which is only €8.99 to last the duration of the sailing. A heating controller here too. Moving on to the bedroom area, and it's the first time I've ever seen a double bed on a ferry. So in the 2-berth cabin, there is a double bed and a single bed. And all cabins are convertible. And the 2 unused bunks above, if it's 4-berth. There's even extra personal lights up there for those. They leave the key card in the room. And I have no recollection of why the key card was left in the room. I've never seen this on a ferry before, or how I originally got in. Let's now check out the bathroom. So there's the usual toilet and wash basin. And towels provided, several of them actually, which is rare sometimes for a ship. The nice shower, which worked very well. And a soap dispenser just in there also. I find it's often hard to keep the water inside the shower on board ships. However, it was when I got inside the cabin that I realised the big mistake I had made. My UK power adapter was gone, and it was left on the TGV. Can I find a shop on board, I wonder, to buy another? Let's start by taking a look at these core deck plans. And a list here of all the facilities and venues on offer on board. We'll try to go through each of them one by one throughout the video. First of all, I must find this shop. ferry store, and alas, after having a good walk around inside and speaking to the member of staff, they do not sell any mobile phone chargers, power outlets or cables. Anyhow, let's not try to ruin my sailing enjoyment tonight with this issue, so I head back up on deck to watch her departure from Toulon. I will then explain to you the remainder of the phone charger fiasco story. Bizarrely, as I was able to board the ferry so ridiculously early, around 2 hours before, which was very welcome, as I needed some sleep after a long day travelling. You can watch my last video for that. The ferry was now departing 45 minutes late, after its scheduled departure time of 1900. Hopefully we will make some of the lost time back up en route, as these ferries generally tend to sail slower than their maximum capability to save fuel. Well, bon voyage. The stunning view of its funnel steaming into the night, with the turquoise blue waters in the dark below. After leaving the shop, I went to the ship's purser's desk to inquire as to whether there may be any onboard power I could find to charge my phone. Amazingly, the purser said that there was one set of USB outlets on the ferry in the Main Street diner on deck 8 by the fruit and games machines. Since I did still have my power charger and USB cable, just not the UK adapter, this would be of great use. So I am now very nervous and apprehensive to go down and check this out once the ferry is on her way to Bastia, Corsica. If I cannot charge my camera, this voyage really will be over for me. Now let's try to get a cool shot over the side. And don't worry, I'm using my selfie stick. I am not dangling myself over. It's certainly given me some vertigo though. Time to head back down into the warm and go to find some food and the location of the USB outlets mentioned by the purser. It's now time to enjoy the traditional Italian American burger and fries for the Main Street food price of €16.50. A special menu price including a Dr Pepper, because well, what's the worst that could happen? Leaving your power adapter on a TGV. But anyhow, alas, here is the saviour. 2 working USB outlets at this one table on the whole vessel. With the food consumed and some charge had on my phone, it's time to do a full tour of the ship. So, here we go. Now we pass back out from the cabin through to the atrium area. The first thing I will point out, however, as I start the tour, is this ship reminds me of another, more famous one, called the Mary Celeste. You will see why when we walk around. Once again climbing the stairs and head back up to deck 8. Starting the tour where we left off earlier at the general ferry store, which sells everything except anything you need. They do, however, have a lot of sweets and puzzle magazines. In the morning, it opens from 6 AM. Some publicly accessible toilets are available on this corridor should you not have a cabin, as cabins on this vessel are optional. Next, arriving at the Riviera Lounge and its coffee shop. To the left is the Pullman seating, which I'm pretty sure they charge extra for on their website, though it's publicly accessible for all. At the far stern to the rear is more seating, here to the left, and the shuttered up coffee shop is here to the right. If you do not have a cabin, there's certainly a lot of space here to relax and spread out. What did, however, catch my eye here, only in the video, is there is another table that looks like it might have USB plugs. Now let's go up the stairs to see all the dozens of people sitting on the top tier. Gosh, it's so busy up here, you can barely move. I just noticed here to my left these illuminated mood blue lighting windows. I'm not sure what's in there. There's a picture of a volcano or something on the wall. If you know, please let me know in the comments below. Now let's head back downstairs and do a full walkthrough, right the way from the rear stern here to the front bow of the vessel. You get another view here of the airline lounge style seating, which as you can see is packed with customers. And oh yes, there is a menu here for Starbucks, which I did not try out on the ship at all, and I'm not convinced it was open, but it's my own fault for not double checking. Back down along the corridor with the gift store. To the right there, it looks like they also sell clothing and t-shirts. Somebody here has brought their own huge inflatable mattress. And then we approach the games and arcade machines area with this random kids toy here. And to the left there, the only plugs available on the ship, with the seating area for the American diner style bar. Main Street, authentic burgers, great American food. And of course, as it says here, you can bring your dog with you into the ship, and I certainly did actually see a few hanging about. And as it's getting late, the now closed Main Street bar where I ate earlier on. This area now approaching is the ship's main self-service restaurant, Yellow's, with the obligatory ship's microwave to the left. They do love these on Brittany Ferries. All closed now, of course, and the self-service seating area here to the right, mostly which seems to be full of truck drivers. This is called the Yellow's cafeteria, and it certainly looks like the self-service restaurant on Brittany Ferries, although I didn't try it out on this sailing. To the right here is the Sweet Cafe, a coffee shop that also for some reason is decorated like an American diner. Everything on this ship is decorated quirky. It sells the standard coffee snacks here, croissants and muffins. Finally we reached the front bow of the ship, and located here is the Dolce Vita a la carte restaurant. And here is the full menu, which I'll just slow down there slightly so you can read it a little, but you might wish to pause. And the main a la carte restaurant itself is through that door there to the left ahead, with the bar area here to the right, which serves the whole massive atrium below. As I enter the amazing tall multi-level atrium area at the front bow of the vessel, my camera accidentally started recording in slow motion, typical. I have therefore had to speed this footage back up, but it's made it up shaky and unstabilised, so I do apologise about that. Down this small staircase here, which I think someone had forgot to rope off since I couldn't get back out the other side, is this small art gallery area, which is in an unlit condition, kind of creepy. I think it was formerly used for some other more glamorous purpose when the ship was sailing the seas of Scandinavia. You can get stung by a jellyfish down here, or even eaten by a shark. This would make a great area for a photo shoot during the daytime, but alas, I was only on the ship during the dark. And I have no idea what is through the secret door. Let's not stop around to find out. And I come back up the other side of the stairs to find that I am roped in. I guess someone forgot to put this over the other side. Finally, my camera is back in working order, and it's time to enjoy my drink. This atrium really is very impressive. I can't help but think of the fun days it must have been when it was a dance hall in Scandinavia. The Desperado costs only €5.60, which to be honest, for a ferry is not too bad really. Cheers! The final feature to point out in here is the obscure television. It's absolutely massive, completely useless, has no sound and does not appear to show any films or music etc. It seems such a waste of a lovely prominent dance hall feature in this beautiful room. Well, I see everybody has gone to bed, and I'm the last customer left. Time to exit the bar, as I do not want to drink too much. So I do on the lower floor this time for a little change, and interestingly, on these glass windows here, you could just about make out how it still says Dancing Palace, probably a hark back to our Baltic era. The carpet here almost looks like it's had some water damage. I hope the ship's not flooding. I don't want to have to man the lifeboats at this time of night. I'm certainly now getting tired and wary, but there's one final thing to do that I always do when I'm on board a ferry. Ah yes, you've guessed it, a midnight stroll out on deck, with the strong breeze and the sound of the ocean crashing against the ship. I also love these automatic door release buttons, something rarely seen on a ferry. The usual blast of wind hits you immediately as you go outside. I must say there is a huge number of recycling bins on these vessels. It's never that difficult to get rid of old rubbish. It certainly also has that exhilarating feeling of having a whole ferry deck to yourself. A final blast of Mediterranean wind and a nice view into the pitch black darkness. time to head back inside and retire to my cabin for the night. A final summary of the facilities on board. We'll take another walk through the ship tomorrow morning. One thing on here I do not remember seeing at all is the Gusto Italian pizza. I'm wondering how I missed that. I'm also intrigued by deck number 1. It looks very far down, and the signs of fish on there. Is it underwater? If you know, please let me know in the comments below. Anyhow, for me, it's back for some sleep on deck 7. I best not disturb this person sleeping over here in the corner. Back safely in my cabin. Good night from the MS Pascal Lota, somewhere out over the Mediterranean Sea. And good morning. Well, that was a very good night's sleep. I best get myself out of bed and into the bathroom. And these little pictures of what not to put down the toilet really did make me laugh. I guess I am just going to have to find another place to flush my chips away. It's now time for the all-important test of the shower. Now I wonder how this will be. I will see you on the other side. Well, all in all, that was a very good and refreshing shower. Time now to get changed and head out to find out what festivities for the day await for us. Partly a little annoyed here, however, as I woke up earlier than I would have done, as I saw on other YouTubers' videos that you are awoken by a member of staff if you do not come out of your cabin earlier, and I wanted to avoid that. I saw none of this in real life at all. I should have stayed in bed another half an hour. Out of the cabin, I have just over an hour now before the ship docks in Bastia, so let's take a look about and see what facilities are open this morning for those who wish to have coffee or breakfast. I've decided though I'm going to skip it as it's so early and have breakfast in Bastia instead. Starting off at the stern is the Riviera Lounge and coffee shop that I found last night selling Starbucks, and as you can see, all the lights are off and it's pitch black. So we may as well do a U-turn and head back down past the gift store, which you can see here is nice and shuttered up and closed. At least it affords you now a better look inside. I wonder if those people got a good sleep on their large airbed. Why on earth did they put it in the corridor? Passing the vending machines, which actually are still open, and to the right, someone is actually still sleeping. I best not disturb them. Then back, of course, through the closed Main Street diner. And someone is inside there setting it up, ready to open. I'm guessing most venues on the ship open at 6 AM. I'm just 15 minutes or so early, though it does not afford you much time to eat breakfast, with docking at 6:45. Back past the Brittany Ferries style, Yellow's self-service cafeteria and area. And the Sweet Cafe, which is also still closed. However, I must admit this did actually open before the ship docked. One final view over the bar, which I think on the TV is playing the morning news. Now let's head back to the snack area and listen to something you know I always enjoy, a good onboard announcement.
Monsieur, bonjour. Il est 5h45. Nous accosterons au port de Bastia à 6h45. Le service petit déjeuner est déjà disponible dans le pont de vent jusqu'à l'arrivée. Merci. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is 5:45 a.m. We'll be berthing in Bastia at 6:45 a.m. Breakfast is being served until arrival time. Thank you.
And as it says here, well, let's go for a snack then. Now back out on deck, it's time to see the lights of Corsica and the town of Bastia approaching. And wow, a beautiful Corsican moon bursting its way through the clouds. Whilst here, almost at the end of the voyage, it gives me an opportunity to tell you how much I paid for the ticket. I booked the tickets only about 2.5 weeks in advance, and the one-way fare cost me €20, with €80 for the whole cabin, plus the Wi-Fi price of €8.99, a total of €108.99. Not as cheap as a Brittany Ferries mini cruise, but not too bad either. Sadly, as they say, all good things must come to an end, and it's time to head back down these uniquely Mediterranean ferry-style escalators to disembark in Bastia and explore what the island has to offer. I must admit these are a great way of alighting ships, though they do not feel quite as glamorous as the boarding bridges with windows. They are also excellent for people with accessibility issues, and as you can see, it looks here as though a member of staff is helping a customer down with their suitcases, which is always nice to see. A quick review then now on what I thought of the sailing. Overall, pretty good to be honest. It was not quite Brittany Ferries standard, however in some aspects the ship has better facilities and more food choices. However, the staff are not very interactive or friendly, but compared to some of the sailings to come in my next videos, this ferry is like a palace. Stay tuned for that. And please remember that all prices, information and opinions in the video are subject to change and are intended as a guide only. And so we are off, back on dry land. Welcome to Bastia, Corsica. My first time visiting this island, so I'm very excited as to what it has to offer. A final view looking back at our great ferry for the night, the Pascal Lota. It's just a short walk now of around 2 or 3 minutes from here to the port gate and out straight into the centre of town. Really very convenient. I didn't notice any steps or stairs. And gosh, it's still windy here. On the next episode, I shall be taking a train up into the mountains and interior of Corsica, so I will see you then. Thank you for watching Carl's Travel Channel. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.